So I have decided to make a second video on the first chapter of Weapons of the Week because I believe that there's quite a lot of theory in this chapter, and I wanted to cover it in a quicker video for anyone who just wants the theory. So basically, there's two characters, Razak and Haj Brum, that are discussed through ethnographic examples, and they're very different. Razak is a very poor person, and Haj Brum is an ultra rich landowner. So they say that the stories that circulate about Razak and Haj Brum are perhaps understood in a sense of propaganda. Like effective propaganda, they signify, they embody an entire argument about what is happening in this small place. So the mere mention of Razak's name by rich villagers conjures up a vision of grasping, dishonest poor. So what they're saying is it creates propaganda for the rich to show how they don't want the poor to be, and it creates propaganda for how the poor don't want the rich to be. So it's quite a useful concept that is being identified here. This idea of this this weapon of the weak is a propaganda of this ideology of this rich person is being used to try and prevent the rich from being too stingy, too tight with money, and persecuting the poor too much. So, let's have a little look. So it says, alas, the equilibrium is only symbolic, and these cautionary tales, after all, adjure the rich and the poor to forego their immediate material interests. Right. So what it then begins to say is how the rich are less affected by this because they're in the position to enforce the poor. They are able to, they control more of the resources. So the poor have to use this, imply this, this idea of being an offence, like an overly ultra rich oligarch. So what they do is they do this through very subtle ways, such as just discussing things in the background, but when they're not actually there, and only paying the minimal respects required to not offend people. So what I think is this chapter is really sort of showing the situation between the rich and the poor, and how it's a good introductory chapter because it starts to show how the poor are able to subvert the ideas of the rich through this guy who is much too rich and much too tight with money, and went against the sort of moral standards in the village. So hopefully this has done a quicker explanation on this first chapter called Small Arms Fire in the Class War. Thank you for watching. Give us a like if you enjoyed that.